Hi, Emily.
That is Quincy, your baby girl. How old is she?
She is gonna be 15 months.
15 months.
Yeah, she was born November 27th, 2021.
Oh, okay. My birthday is
Yeah.
November 26th, so she's a Thanksgiving baby, huh?
Yours definitely Thanksgiving babies, yeah.
So you're an interior designer. Were you an interior designer in Indonesia?
No, actually, I was working as a government relation at the oil and gas company. So it was a full-time job, 9 to 5 corporate job. And then I moved here, and then, when I moved here, I don't have any like, career like whatever, because I had my first daughter here. We moved here when she was 1 month old. So, just like every other new mothers who move to a new city and kind of in the like limbo, feeling feeling like, who is this? Who am I? My life is just, being a mom. So kind of like feel lost in that journey, the
Yeah.
beginning of the motherhood journey. Anyway, so no, but and then I always live with my parents. That's
Mhm.
like, Asian culture where like you don't really move out of the house until you're married and have kids. Sometimes, sometimes they still even want to keep you there. But anyway, so I never really had a chance to decorate anything because that was my parents' house. And then I moved here, and then yeah, then rent an apartment, and then but I always love decorating. I was doing styling, fashion stylist too, so it was a lot of creative style side anyway. So yeah, it just kind of like come out naturally, and I'm like, oh, I love doing this so much. So anyway, yeah, that's
Yes,
how it
you are
started.
very stylish because I saw what you're wearing on the Freebirth Society podcast too. I find that a lot of fashion stylists are know how to interior design. It makes sense, right? Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah, it's
goes
because
with
like
it.
yeah, the way you dress, it will reflect how your house look. I mean, even when I help a client, and I will be like, I will see how they dress first, and I'll be like, all right, you like comfort, you like sweater, like something, and then I'm like, then we will put lots of layers of just a comfortness in the house. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, it's definitely it goes together.
I love that. And so are
Yeah.
you originally from Jakarta?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And is that the capital of Indonesia?
It is a capital. I was born and raised and in Jakarta. I came to the US once when was still dating with my husband. But yeah, came to LA with a picture of like, wow, this is a cool city. I would love to live here. But we were not married at that time, so everything just seems like all fun. And
How did you guys meet?
we met back in Jakarta.
Oh.
My husband is a music producer and DJ. So he was out touring at that time for his album. Anyway, so Jakarta was the first city that He came to, and then the guy that brought him to Jakarta was my friend. So we met through the mutual friend, and the rest is history.
Aw, that's so sweet.
That was
Wow.
back in 2014. So
Okay.
yeah. Feels like
Okay.
yesterday, but it was quite a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, time flies, huh?
Yes, it is. So yeah, here I am now with our two kids. We live in South Pasadena, California.
Hmm.
It's nice neighborhood. It's beautiful here. So yeah, that's like one of the perks. I'm like, okay, I can be here.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah, we're good
And
for
if
now.
you love food, it's the place to be. And that's what I miss. When my mom came to visit, she brought dim sum and I was craving it so bad.
Exactly. I mean, I guess that's one of the biggest thing I have to consider if we move out of, LA. It's like, how can I find Indonesian food? There's like a big Indonesian community here. I mean, I've never really go to any of this community, but I know there are a lot of Indonesian
Mm.
restaurants, and then they have like Indonesian groceries. And I was like, oh my God, even if we move to different in like California, but Northern California, I'm like, I don't know. And it's important for me because
Yeah.
I cannot go back home.
Yeah, it is harder. It is harder when you move out of LA, especially LA. The
Yeah,
food scene is like no other for
I
sure.
know, I know for sure. Yeah.
So can you share with me like Like, what's the birth culture like in Indonesia?
The birth culture, it changed so much. I think like I don't know, I guess everywhere else like in the world, just from like one generation different from me and my mom, it was already like huge different, we just like one generation apart basically. Like my mom has three vaginal birth, no problem, and she did not give birth at home. I think I asked my dad after I gave birth to Quincy. I was probably like the first in the family after my grandma, my father's mom. That was like she was the last one, I guess, to give birth at home, and then I gave birth at home again. But my mom, she gave birth at the clinic. It's like a small, tiny clinic, and then the midwife was family. I remember I came there like later on when I was about 7, just to see. Oh, this is where my mom gave birth. And anyway, it was tiny, very traditional, simple clinic. My sisters, and I think after that, hospital birth definitely is way more desirable.
How many
I mean,
sisters do
even
you have?
I have two older sisters, so I'm the youngest, and both of my sisters gave birth at the hospital. I mean, so I have two daughters, and I had my first also in the hospital because I mean, at that time, never thought about why are we giving birth at the hospital. Never a question, just basically feels natural, right? Just like, yeah, this is what we do. My mom she's a very hypochondriac, so she just always so afraid of every little thing. It just, then for her, like, no, you go to the hospital. You gotta make sure when pregnant, check this, check that.
Is she a nurse?
No, she's not.
Okay.
She is so, no, thank God she's not, because if she is, I think it will be even worse. But anyway, she is such a hypochondriac that she passed it on me. Then I'm like, okay, yes, I think she's right. I need to go to the doctor and blah, blah, blah. That was, but even especially when I was pregnant with my first. So the birth culture changed so much, basically.
So
Definitely.
your mom's mom didn't have your mom at home. It was at the
I
hospital?
don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, it was at the hospital. But my mom's dad was gave birth at the home. Both of my sisters gave birth at the hospital. It was through cesareans. I think every woman always want to have vaginal birth. In the back of our mind, we're always like, yes, that's what we want. But then we don't really know, once we step into the hospital, it can change completely that what you want and what they want, what the hospital want. When both my sister gave birth cesarean, I kept telling myself, I'm gonna do it vaginally. This is something that I want to prove, because how come we cannot do it? Our mom did it 3 times, and then she's always kind of like, it's easy. It was not hurt. So I just have like, yeah, okay, I can do that. So fast forward, I was pregnant, first time pregnant with my first daughter. I was so after we got married, all the way in Indonesia, and then 4 months, my husband stayed with me for 4 months. It's kind of like our honeymoon, and then after 4 months living in Indonesia, he had to go back to the US. And then so we had a long distance marriage because I had to wait for my visa. So when he left that month, I found out I was pregnant. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was by myself. So I'm like, oh my God, I was so happy and excited, and like, you know, because I wanted it. I'm like, yes, I want us to, have a kid right away. But again, not having, share this very important, the most important experience in your life by yourself. I would just call my husband. I remember it was like 3 a.m. here in the US, and I told him like, I just took a pregnancy test, and then it was positive, and then he was asleep. He was like, what? Yes. Anyway, so, and then he was so happy, and then, all right, I'll call you back in the morning. And it just like, what? There's kind of like that feeling of sadness already, and then just feeling, oh my God, I'm not gonna have him during my pregnancy. And the ideal time to have your husband always on your side. I
Yeah.
go to the OBGYN monthly to get ultrasound and everything, just go by myself, and I want to FaceTime him. And
Yeah, that sounds hard. Like those sharing those special moments, even when the baby kicks, you would want your husband's hand.
yeah, I know. And then, like, to be honest, it was really, really hard. So I went back to my mom's house too. So navigating like the first time being pregnant and away from your husband, and then dealing with my mom, but now like as a married woman who's pregnant, first 3 months of my first pregnancy, I don't have any morning sickness. I never had that, thank God, so far with my second two. But I do. At that time, I guess I was just pretty stressed. So, and then I didn't know much about pregnancy. I had like spotting a couple of times. And then I thought like, oh my God, did something happen with the baby? Which is, later on I found out it was completely normal if you still spotting the first trimester. But I went back and forth to the hospital maybe like 3 times to get, and then they put this thing, like, I don't even remember what's the name. I was only 3 months pregnant. So they want to make sure through the vagina, they put things in my vagina. It was so painful to see basically, oh, your baby's fine.
Was it like
And
a
then,
wand?
yeah, it's like, but it was, oh my God, I seriously want to block that memory
Yeah.
because it was so painful. And I went there by myself. I went 3 times, but one of the visit I actually I asked my dad to come with me because I was so scared basically. So those are like already kind of like makes the experience harder. And as soon as I passed my first trimester, my husband came when I was 5 months pregnant, and then he stayed for a month. So that was good. He had to go back to the US, and then our plan was he will come back when I was close to the labor, and then like 9 months pregnant.
When
And
did you move to Bali?
oh yeah, so this is so like when I told you about I live with my mom, and then it gets so hard and harder. Then I told my husband, like, you know what? I told my husband, like, I don't want to be in Jakarta. I think I need to relax. I need to be where, close to the nature.
Yeah.
And then both of my best friends moved to Bali at that time.
How far is
Then
Bali from Jakarta?
it's like 2 hours by airplane. I moved to Bali. And then at that time, I heard from my friend that there's this birthing center, like a natural birthing center with this amazing midwife. Then I would just, search, and I'm like, all right, this is the sign. I'm just going to move. So I moved there when I was 4.5 months pregnant. And then my husband came
Wait, so you found an
to,
apartment and all that, and then
yeah, I actually share a house with my best friend. Yeah, I mean, in Bali, it's not that hard at all to do that. It's like easy.
yeah.
It's not like here. So we share a house with my best friend, and I feel way more supported than if I was back home. And yeah, went to go to see this birthing center, and then visited them, and then they checked me and asked a bunch of questions. And then at that time, again, I was just feeling like, yeah, this is the place where I want to be. And I want to have natural birth, and I want to have vaginal birth. My mind was just too occupied by the thoughts of like, oh, my husband is not here. I want him here. I need him here. I want him to do this for me, do this for me. I don't want to do this by myself or just be with my best friend. My best friend is like my plus one, basically. She literally took over my husband's duties, which is amazing. I was so thankful for her. But still, I'm like, it's not the same. I'm like, I want my husband to be here. So anyway, I think I was too occupied with those thoughts. I was not really prepare the birth, or prepare in a way. I was like, well, you know what? Let me go read books. Let me go find out about, what is natural birth. My mom just told me, like, oh, you can do it. I have 2 midwives that helps me, and they just basically, every time it's like a monthly visit where they check with a Doppler the baby and then check your blood pressure and stuff. And but I was just thinking like, all right, well, I have them. I don't have to be worried. But the thing is, I was still in the mainstream lifestyle. So in my head, I'm like, you know what? Since the birthing center cannot ultrasound, then I asked the main midwife who owns the birthing center there. I was like, do you have a OBGYN, natural, who basically pro natural birth that I can go to, that I can have an ultrasound? And it's like, oh yeah, I do. I'll give you a recommendation. Anyway, so every month I go to the midwife and go to the OBGYN to get ultrasound, like monthly. All I was just thinking like that, just it's just good to have both. So when I was 9 months pregnant, well, so I cannot come to the US. The plan was maybe I can give birth in the US, but when the visa came, I was too pregnant, and then I was like, you know what, I don't really want to go travel. So he came like when I was 9 months, I think like around 35, 36 weeks pregnant. So he's staying with me basically the entire time until we move. So around 30, I was almost 37 weeks. That morning, I remember I went pee and I thought like I had my water broke. But again, I was just like guessing, like, whoa, what was that? I told my husband, and then he's like, I don't know what it is. Okay, let's just call our midwife and see what it is. And so my midwife was, oh, we don't have an ultrasound in our in the clinic. Why don't you go see the OBGYN and get an ultrasound and see if it's your water broke? Which I did that. Then I called the doctor, and the doctor's like, yeah, come and let's go have a look. So I came, and then he checked me, yes, on an ultrasound. He said, oh no, your water is fine. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. He kept like looking and looking and looking. I remember his face was different. And I was like, whoa, what happened? And so I asked him, like, doctor, what happened now? And he's like, give me 1 second. Now his face was so worried too. And I'm like, oh, okay. He told me, I've seen something different. And I was like, what do you mean? Anyway, so he said us, and he said, I found the kidney of your daughter, the right kidney of your daughter is bigger than the left. Which is so funny because I remember 3 weeks prior, I just came back to him and he said everything was fine. Anyway, so I was like, wait, I thought everything was fine last time we were here like 3 weeks ago. And then he said, I know, that's why it's so weird. Why did I just find this about this kidney right now? I was basically, my husband and I, we were completely shocked. I was just flooded with fears and crying, and how did this even happen? I just knew immediately this must be my fault. I was so stressed all the time. But then the next day I will be 37 weeks. So he told me, my OB was like, what we can do right now is we can induce you because you'll be 37 weeks tomorrow, which is, it's a full term. And as soon as the baby is out, then we can figure it out what we're gonna do basically, and find out what's happening with the kidney. And he said, go home and think about it. And I was so shocked. I'm like, what the hell? Everything was fine, and we were like excited, and now it just gloomy. We don't know exactly what it was at that time, but my husband called his family, and then his mom, trying to find out what is it, and then ask anybody basically, and we don't, like, nobody really know what it is exactly. And that night I was just crying and praying, and then I don't know what to do. And obviously my head, I'm like, gosh, what if something bad gonna happen to her? And I was just so scared that I told my husband, let's just do it. Let's just bring her out so we know what to do. And my husband was always supportive, like, whatever it is you decide. So the next day we pack and then go to the hospital. And then the doctor was there, and then I told the doctor,
so you
all right.
don't even, so you don't go to the birthing center, you go straight to the
Yeah,
hospital.
yeah. So, so I called the midwife and explained it to her. And then she's like, oh yeah, that's fine, whatever, basically. This main midwife they're like very good friends. So they kind of like, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's me or her, all good. Yeah, we packed the bag, arrived at the hospital, and then immediately we got a room for me. Immediately I got nursed and just trying to induce me basically. But I think at that time, so the doctor explained to me how we're gonna induce. So first we're gonna do the oral, and then if the oral did not work, they gonna do something inserted in your vagina. And then if the vagina didn't work, then we gotta do the Postpartum.
Did you hallucinate at all during that?
No, I did not. I did not. So I was just like, yes, yes, yes. At this point, I'm just like, yes, okay, doctor, sounds good. So they gave me orally induction, and I remember the contraction came pretty quick after that. And I remember, I think like around afternoon, I'm start contracting slowly, slowly, slowly. And then at night, it got stronger and then closer. I did not sleep at all that night. And I'm like, my God, this is crazy. And then, nurse came and checked me and said, oh, you just like dilate whatever one or something. I was telling her, Adam, like, how can I do this? This is crazy, basically. And I only dilate one or something. And so I did not sleep the entire night. But then the next morning, it stopped. The contraction completely stopped. And the nurse checked, oh, you dilate 2 centimeters. And I'm like, okay, that's good. We're making progress. And so doctor said, all right, now obviously the oral did not work. Let's do something put something in your vagina. And I said, okay, sure. So they did it again, and I had contraction again, lasted all night. And then in the morning, it stopped again. And I did not even progressing. I was only stopping to dilate. And I was like, my God, this is exhausting. And I knew at that time, I was like, maybe my baby doesn't want to come out yet, obviously. And 37 weeks, this is my conversation with my husband, and 37 weeks is not even like, it's still far. It's not even like full term, whatever. Like I knew it. I don't want to do this. I think my baby didn't want to do this. It's so obvious. And so we stay almost 3 days, right? So I stay because the next day, which is the third day, that's when the doctor wants to do Pitocin, basically. And then my husband asked the OB, the doctor, and then I actually called my OB back in Jakarta. I told him about what happened to me and my baby, and he was basically saying, he's like, okay, I'm not familiar with the situation, but let me go ask my friend, the doctor who might know about the kidney situation. So he called me back, and then he said, actually, you're good. My friend told me what happened with the baby. It's not going to affect anything as long as you keep monitoring the kidney. So you do not have to, if you don't want to like force the baby out, you don't have to. You can just wait until she's ready. And I'm like, oh my God, that's great news. My husband asked the OB, right? And like, hi, doctor, is this some life-threatening situation? What happened with her kidney? And she said, no. Then I was like, then why did you force us to, want to induce? Because the thing is, he said, if the Pitocin did not work, I will end up in emergency cesarean, basically. And then that's kind of like the wake-up call from my husband part, because he's like, what? That's like crazy. It's basically gambling. You would just like gamble it away. Like, it's fine. Then I talked to my baby, and I told him, like, I think it's obvious he's not ready, and I'm not ready, and I'm exhausted. I don't know if I can do this. I was there for almost 3 days. They checked me. Nurses like come in and out. I was trapped in all kind of stuff to like check the baby heart rate, whatever, Then I told my OB, all right, you know what? I think we decided we just want to go home, want to wait for our baby to come naturally. And he said, okay, sure, yeah, no problem. Feels so good. We walk out of the door, still pregnant. But I'm like, okay, let's just switch OBGYN. I'm like, all right, I don't want this doctor anymore. He's so incapable. Let's go find a different OBGYN. Then I call my midwife again. I told her that I still have my baby in my belly. So I'm still gonna going with you. She's like, it's fine, sounds good. But she said, make sure to be sure, I needed to have ultrasound to make sure that the size of the kidney is not getting worse, basically. So I found another OB that he's pretty cool, whatever. All of my OB were like all males. I can't even believe that. I'm like, oh, am I even?
Yeah.
It just, when you're like so far disconnected, you just, yeah, okay, you literally never really check on yourself. But I have 4 male OBGYN.
That always trips me out. Like, why are these men, why do they want to be an OB out of all the specializations?
I know.
Why? Yeah, it's funny. It's weird.
Like, I know, seriously, because I was like, oh, yeah. I know. It's like the most private sector part, and then, some random guy.
I want to interview just the one question. Why did you choose the specialty, and hear their answers just for fun?
I know. Actually, that would be a great idea, because I'm extremely curious. Because like, what is it your really real reason to like save women, during childbirth?
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what I mean? It's like, but anyway, yeah, I was just
yeah.
Like I said, I have 4 male OBGYN. Yeah. So I found my last OBGYN, and I explained to him what happened, but I did tell him I want to have a vaginal birth. He said, no problem, we'll do that, but we need to keep continuing the ultrasound weekly. So we will make sure the size of the kidney is not get bigger. So anyway, sounds good, doctor. So we did that. We went every week to go to this doctor to get ultrasound for my daughter. And yeah, every week it's still the same. And then fast forward to 41 weeks and 5 days, I remember. So basically, ever since I got induced, I still get contraction every day. Come and go. Nothing really like make me like, oh, okay, my baby's gonna be here. But up until I gave birth to my daughter, I had contraction every day pretty much. So that 41 week and 5 days. So there were like a couple times, because where we live was an hour away from my midwife's birthing center in Bali. So and then there were like 2 times it was a false alarm basically, and I thought, oh, this is it, this is going to be it. We were timing it. I was still using that contraction app. My husband was like, yes, this is it, I think. Oh my god. All right, we got into the car, drove all the way for like an hour. Contraction stopped, arrived, and then stopped. And then I got checked again, and midwife will be like, oh, you only dilate 2. All right, stay the night here and see what how you feel in the morning. Nothing happened. Contraction just gone again. And I'm like so disappointed. I'm like, man, what happened? I thought that was it. And then disappointed, came back home. And then it happened twice like that, basically. So, and again, I have no idea what that means. I just thought like my body failed me. That's what I thought. And then, but this special time is 41 weeks and 5 days. So my husband was like, you know what? Why don't we leave find like a fila or something that close to the birthing center? Then we don't have to drive all the way back and forth like this. So we decided to stay Like it was very like walking distance from the birthing center. So if I do need to give birth, I can just walk. And I remember that night I was I remember I was contracting, and then I went pee and I saw blood in my underwear, and I was so happy. I thought like, oh my God, it must be so close. My baby must be so close. Today must be the day. Walk, and then I was so happy. Like literally, this is gonna be the day I'm gonna give birth to my baby. And walked to the birthing center, and then got checked. And then I told her, this is what happened. I was contracting, and then there's a blood come, and I checked. Oh, you still dilate 2 centimeters. I was so disappointed. I was so down. I think at that time, even I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this. Like feeling so defeated. My midwife was, you know what? Just stay here. Just stay at the birthing center. I remember she came and then she checked the heart rate on a Doppler on my baby, and then she told me, "Oh, your heart rate, her heartbeat is go up and down. It's like all the way up, all the way down." She was quite. I can tell she's still a bit worried about it. And then she asked my husband, "What do you think about this?" And my husband was like, "I don't know. Why did you ask me? Aren't you the midwife?"
Let me go pull out my book.
Yeah, she never really asked me either, how am I feeling, She just basically just do things that what's right for her too. She never really asked, how are you feeling? What do you think? Do you feel what the baby, whatever, maybe you can talk to the baby, whatever. She never do any of those things, or like commanding me or suggesting me to do that. And I just remember that next thing I know, she said, you know what? I'm not comfortable to have you giving birth in the birthing center. If something happened with the baby and you, I don't want it to, I don't want something happen to you and the baby. Let's just do it at the hospital. And again, at that time, I'm just like, sounds good. 5 minutes later, I was at the ambulance, and my OB at that time, he was surprised to see me there. He was like, what happened? I thought you were going to keep her at this birthing center. They gave us a room, and then I got checked again. I was still 2 centimeters dilating, and I think at this point I'm just completely done. I have no idea what it is that I really want, because I want my baby to be with me immediately. That's all I want. And my OB was giving me an options, and my midwife was there. She said, I'm not gonna throw you under the bus. I'm gonna stay with you until the whole thing done, until the whole process is done, so I'm gonna stay here. There's only two options basically. I was put in the room, and then my OB was telling me, either you will have to do cesarean, or we're just gonna have to induce you. And if you still want to do vaginal birth, we just have to induce you now and see how it progresses, and if it's not progressing, then we will just have to have emergency cesarean basically. While I'm trying to think what it is that I want, I can hear, so my husband and I, we can hear this woman screaming her head off, like she was in labor, like. And I was, imagine trying to make a very important decision that is not influenced, by anyone. And I was talking to my baby. I was like, do you want to come out? What is it that you want, baby? And she just kicking me so hard. So I'm just like, all right, then maybe she is want to come out, and I just cannot basically focus listening to my intuition, and then women screaming. And then actually I got so scared. I'm like, man, that would sound so painful. Can I even do that? Can I even go through that process? And with the, I feel like I have nothing left to give, there's so much going on the past month, basically. And then I told my husband, let's just do cesarean. I'm like, I at this point, I don't care how we bring our baby. I just want to have her with me. I just want to make sure that she's fine and we can figure it out about her kidney. So he said, are you sure about this? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm just tired. Just get my baby out from me and I want to see her. And yeah, told the doctor, and pretty quick, I was in the operating room. And my midwife at that time was kind of shocked because she was like, really? You want to do that? You sure you don't want to try, natural? I'm here. I will hold your hand and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm just tired. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, I'm like just exhausted. They put me to sleep completely. Um, which I did not. I mean, I thought like that was just normal to do that too. And then I just remembered the nurse told me, I'm gonna put this and then you're gonna feel sleepy. And the next thing I know, I was just sleep. And they woke me up to tell me that my baby is here. So I just remember the nurse was like, ma'am, this is your baby. Like, the nurse kind of like put this like this close to me. And I was super out of it. I'm like, oh, hi, baby, hi. Just I was in under heavy drugs.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, hi, baby. And then I went back to sleep, basically. And I think when it was done, I remember I woke up, I was already in the recovery room. And that recovery room with there's like in the curtains, there's like other bunch of other people. And I remember I see my mom there, my dad, my midwife, my husband, one of our friend came, and then my baby cried so much, and then I was naked, and my midwife was just trying to place my baby on top of me, like my chest, and trying to like do the breast crawl, but my baby just like cannot, like crying even more, and I'm like, wow, what is this? Why is so many people? Why is it so bright? Why is she crying? Why can't she just latch? But I have my midwife was, you need to keep trying. My mom on the other side, like, yeah, she's hungry. Give your breast, give your breast. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying. And then I was still so sleepy, and I feel numb, my body too. So like, there's just so many, so many people. There's no like quietness, peaceful, And I just at that time, like, can you just guys go? She did not want to latch at all. That was one of the hardest part. And we were moved to our room, and I remember uh, it was only me. Everybody already gone, left, and it was only me and my husband. And I can feel how the pain is now. I think the drugs is gone now, and the nurse brought her over in that little plastic, uh
Yeah.
bassinet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And she said like, okay, you can try again to nurse her. And then I was like, okay. But I was so tired. And then my husband was in a couch, like falling asleep. And then I was just so the nurse placed her bassinet next to me. And then I was in bed. I was just looking at her like, that's it? That's like the baby that I was looking forward to, like for the past 9 months. I don't have this connection. I was looking at her like she was asleep, I was just like, and I was so tired. And I fell back to sleep too. Like I don't have any desire to like, oh, let me go hold her. Oh, let me just, oh, I want to like, nurse her or whatever. So that was, and I remember because I have a bunch of friends who gave birth before who would tell me, oh, all the pains will go away once you see your baby. So when I see my baby and then I don't have that feeling, I was literally, what got away? I have all the pain still. And then I see my baby like, like nothing basically. I mean, at that time, I did not really internalize it too much. I just feel like, oh, I didn't really feel anything.
But it was all the drugs. All the drugs
Exactly.
you were
Yeah. It was
under.
all, yeah, it was horrible. And then I try again to nurse her, and then she just did not want to latch. She just doesn't want to latch at all, at all. So we came home from the hospital. It was only like I only stayed for 2 days. Came home from the hospital and trying to nurse her again. Did not want to latch still. It was such a one of the hardest time in my entire life, I guess. That time just feeling so helpless. And I'm like, how is it nobody ever told me about this part, the nursing part, the breastfeeding part? They told you about, oh, you're not gonna get sleep again. But what about the nursing? This is so hard and it's not easy at all for me. I was so jealous basically about all of this mom who just nurse their baby. And 3 days later, she still did not want to latch. I was so engorged. Then I called my midwife. My midwife was saying, come back to the birthing center. We help you to get the nursing going. So left the den of my postpartum tent 3 days to go to the birthing center. I never got mastitis though, which is weird. With Quincy, I got 3 times mastitis. But anyway, it was went back to the birthing center, got massage, and then finally able to feed her through the syringe. Yes,
Okay.
yes, with the syringe. I was so happy. I'm like, oh my gosh, she likes my milk, and feeling so hopeful. And then that night, I tried to nurse her, and then she finally latched, but always in this weird position. So I have to stand up, and then I hold her, so she's standing up too. So it's not like this,
Cradle, not a cradle.
yeah, no, nothing like that. But at that time, like whatever works, I'll take it. So that night it was raining hard, and my husband had to leave to get some food. And then my main midwife came to the room. And
You're
then
still at the birthing center.
I was still at the birthing center. We stay at the birthing center. I think we stayed for like 2 days or something. Basically she's like, we're not gonna go home until we figure this, nursing out, we're gonna make sure that you can nurse your baby. So she saw how, I think she knows how sad I was, because I know I wasn't able to give her naturally. So she was telling me, I was naked at that time, right? And my baby was with diapers and everything. So she said, you know what, let's do this. I'm gonna reenact the whole birthing for you. So I was like laid down, and then she's kind of like open up my legs a little bit. She just placed my baby in my vagina, basically pretend that she catch it, and then she gave it to me. And I think that helps me a little bit to like the closest I can get, about, because obviously even when I decided I want to have cesarean, I already told myself, you are such a horrible mother already. Your body's, my body failed me. I'm such a failure already. How did I do this? I thought I want to be able to have vaginal birth like my mom did, So I already have all this self-judgment. When the nurse, wake me up to see it, and I'm like, oh my God, yeah. And then I literally catch her with my hands, and I place her on my chest, and then she latch like right away, basically after that. Like I don't have to like in this weird position, and I'm like, oh my God. So I cried.
It sounds like it's like an energetic block.
Exactly.
It's
And my husband's family came from the US when my baby was 5, 6 days old. They're all like so excited, and she was the first grandchild. So they all came to Bali. The villa that they rented is only maybe like 10 minutes away from our house, but we had to go to the villa to, you know, meet them and visit them. And at that time, I just know, like, why do I do this? I don't want to go anywhere. I want to just stay home. But again, I was so far disconnected. I'm just like, all right, that's fine. But I was like, but they already came all the way from the US. I had to I have to make sure that they are, happy being here as well. There's that first 40 days, and then when they left.
Were you exclusively breastfeeding?
At that time, yes, still. Yeah. Because again, I'm like, I'm already feel such a failure with the cesarean. I'm like, I'm gonna fight to breastfeed my baby. Moved to the US, moved to LA with no help, no friends, no family, being a new mother. And again, at that time, I told you, like, when I came here first time, I was single, we're not married. I feel like LA is the best city to be.
Because what year is this? Did you move? Did you come to the US?
2016.
Okay. I wish I knew you.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God, that will be a lot different story. So with my first daughter, that's what I said. The first year was really hard because it just a lot of initiations coming from her for sure. Because like from the pregnancy, being alone, and then birth, and then have to move here. We're still in the mainstream at this time. I still visit the pediatrician. As soon as we arrived here, we met pediatrician, and at 5 months, she did not gain weight at all. Pediatrician was worried. We don't want the baby to be malnourished. So, and then she had a history of her kidney. So let's just have you to be admitted at the hospital, at the children's hospital, which we did. We did exactly everything that she wants us to do. What she has is called hydronephrosis. There's like the tube in the uterine that's as a blockage of that. So then basically her pee, how the kidney is.
It's like a filter.
Filter, exactly. It's a filter, and then that's where all the pee comes out, right? So what happened is that the tube is blockage. It works, but it really slow. It's like it's not as fast as her left. So there's the blockage, a big one. And so the doctor was telling us we can definitely do the surgery for her, which we just have to unblock the blockage. Yeah, she did the surgery. We waited until she was a year old. So she did finally get it. And so doctor was telling her urologist telling us basically either we have to do 2 times the surgery. Once it's on top of her abdomen. So it's like a cesarean scar. And then if that thing doesn't work, then she had to try through on the side here, the side. And then, but anyway, so we did it once and it didn't work.
What do you mean it didn't work?
There's still the blockage still there. So her kidney is still bigger, the right kidney. So after everything we went through, her kidney is basically still the same size as she was in the womb. This is after everything, all kind of interventions that we got. Nothing helped, basically. If that make it even worse. That's what I said. It's like such a initiation for me to like how far disconnected I was with myself, not trusting my intuition, not trusting my daughter's wisdom, and yeah, that was pretty much experience dealing with doctors, hospitals, and doctors after doctors after doctors. That was basically definitely my huge, and not even like motivation, but just like knowing that I'm not doing this again. And then it took me even a while to wanting to have another baby. I just felt like, why do I want to have another baby? It was so hard. What if the baby gonna be the same again? And the same situation. And but like COVID happened, and then when everything shut down, she basically with us the entire time. Um, and something that we were not used to as well, because we were like meeting friends and do this and that, and I just feel bad because, oh man, she's just with us, no friends to play with. But I just felt like I think I'm ready to. I can see us with another being, another
Mm.
soul. So yeah, I just called it in, and then I told my husband, okay, I think I'm ready, and we tried to conceive, and for like a couple months, and then she's here. So obviously, during those 5 years, 4.5 years, I already a lot of unpack
Mm.
and pre-pack, learn and unlearn. I remember like first time I heard about Freebirth was not in my radar at that time, but I just remember there's like one of the bird keeper, she shared about why mothers stop contracting during labor. It was because her body was not safe. That was a couple of years before I conceived with Quincy. But that was just such a click for me. I'm like, oh, what? This is so interesting. Basically, I found out my body's not a failure. Like aha moment. And I'm like, oh my God, what else? I never been told about this, or about bird. And I was just basically feeling, okay, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna have a home bird. Not necessarily free bird again at that time, but I was just like, all right, we'll do home bird. And I did a trauma debrief when I was 6 weeks pregnant with her.
Did you
It's,
share that you wanted to do a home birth with any of your friends or your family at that time?
I only shared we're gonna do home bird. Yeah.
What was the
Uh,
reaction?
my husband was pro home birth because his mom had a home birth with all of her 3 siblings. He was born in hospital because at that time his mom was like didn't know any better too. But then once when she gave birth to him, she was like, there's gotta be like a better way to do this. So she did it like at home 3 times after that. So she was all about it. But it has to be with midwife. And I had a trauma debrief. It really helps me so much. Even makes me even more like, all right, we're doing this. I'm gonna freebirth my baby. But at that time, I do actually want to have a woman, like a bird keeper, basically, like some woman's energy who basically can tell me you can do this. If I'm like want to give up or anything. In the back of my head, I'm like, I want a free bird, but at the same time, I'm gonna look for bird keeper. And my husband and I at that time, we were not really aligned in a lot of things. There was another initiation with her pregnancy too. I was so alone during COVID times. And I know about, oh, I'm not doing this. So yeah, we did the trauma debrief, and I'm like, all right, I'm set. This is what we're gonna do. And I told my husband, I wanna do free birth, but I'm gonna go find a bird keeper, but not necessarily a licensed midwife, because of ABC. And he was feeling so strongly about it. He was just like, no, I don't want it. I think we need a midwife. It's something happened, blah, blah, blah. I told him at that time, this is what I want. This is my show. Either you're in or you're out. I don't really care. Anyway, it was kind of hot. It was quite challenging to get him to agree on Freebird, basically. But I think he also knows once I set on something, I won't change my mind. And then he also knows that I went through so much with our first birth. So I told him, let's do this course about free birth, about physiological birth. I told him about physiological birth, which we never really learned. I never learned about it. And I think it's going to be really cool. So we took the course.
What's the course called?
Online. Reunion?
The
I
Union?
don't know if you follow, yeah, I don't know if you follow Wild Woman Mothering. Even that, I found her course was like again like meant to be. I was just like thinking like, oh my God, how can I make him understand about this, blah blah blah. And then it pops on my Instagram, and I'm like, what is this? I was like, okay, I'm gonna sign us up with this. So I just told him I already signed us up for this course once a week for the next 4 weeks, about physiological birth. Then he said, all right, I'm down. And yeah, it's actually such a very profound experience for both of us taking that class, because again, with our first pregnancy, we never do any of the class. Not that like you need to take any classes, you know, for birth, but I think it was just such a powerful experience for both of us to learn about like something this big and unlearn about it too, because that's is what we've been told. That's what he's been told. That course, it was, I think, 2 hours. And then usually we ask our friend to watch our daughter, so it's only our time to like doing the course. And then we're like, oh my god, it's so nice. We're like so relaxing. We can like take everything in easily. And my husband has so many questions. And basically, at the end of the course, he told me that, all right, I'm ready. He's basically, and I said,
Nice.
like, okay, I'm like, oh, that's good. What do you learn basically from the course? There's nothing I can do as a man, because it's more like you doing all of the work. I can only support you basically. Then yeah, he's all for it after that. I mean, I hired a midwife when I was 18 weeks pregnant. At that time, just to make my husband like, all right, we have it, you know. But then I fire her pretty much right away, because I know she's not gonna do all the stuff that I'm wanting to do. And I told my husband too at that time that this midwife, if I go past 42 weeks, which I have experienced to go past 42 weeks, you know, what if I go past 42 weeks again? And then the midwife answer was, oh, no worries. I can actually find a doctor that can come to the house. So an OBGYN that can come to the house and to witness the birth, just to like be there. But then we need to pay extra $4,000 for that. Then I told my husband, I'm not willing to pay extra $4,000 just to have a doctor who will not do anything but just to sit there, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, hell no. And I know he's not gonna willing to do that either. So then I told him, all right, I'm gonna say bye-bye to this midwife. And then I found a bird keeper from Freebirth Society, because I joined Yolanda's group, the women's circle.
Mm-hmm. The bathhouse
And
circle. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was also one of the best decision too I had. And again, I was alone and I want to do free birth, but I don't know anyone who ever done it. Even though like this is my second time, you still have so much fear. And then it's always different too. And I can just ask questions without being judged. I decided I want to have a wild pregnancy, which is I don't want to go to the doctor. There's no ultrasound, blah blah blah. And I did have only Doppler with the midwife, the one that I hired. That was the only time. But anyway, so that was the only technology that we.
Why did you choose that route?
Why did I choose to have a wild pregnancy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was because with Penelope, with my first, I did everything exactly what quote unquote I'm supposed to be, you know, like, and I did all of those things. And then none of it actually benefit me or bring any good outcomes, basically. It's all just basically a disaster, if I would say, you know. I mean, because I up until today, my husband and I were still talking about, imagine if we don't know about her kidney. Imagine if we never found out about her kidney, which is it's not life-threatening situation at all. It's pretty common actually. And a lot of people did not know about that they have that hydronephrosis until they're an adult, when they start drinking and then they get stomach pain and then they figure out, oh wow, I have this. So imagine it, but they're basically okay. Then I'm like, oh my God. But again, it just meant to happen like that. It took me a while to accept that is my journey to be where I am now. Later on, I found my medical birth keeper who became my dear friend now. It's literally a support from other women who just like prenatal care. It's not about going to the doctor, getting ultrasound. It's literally do whatever it is that makes the mother feels very good, fairly relaxed and supported. And then I literally, that was just kind of like my benchmark. Like that's what I would do. So yeah, the entire 9 months, I'm just go for a walk, get a massage. I go to get a chiropractor care, and I talk to her. I listen to Yolanda's birth affirmation every day in the morning, get the sun, outside, and just connect to myself and to my baby. Fast forward, I go to 43 weeks and 4 days. So imagine if I had a midwife. I had a 7 days of prodromal labor. It's the same thing what happened with Penelope again, where I had a contraction and I thought this is gonna be it. And then in the morning, contraction's gone, and then come back again in the evening, and then it's gone. It kept like that for 7 days straight. Like one of the night, it lasted for 53 hours. And I thought, oh, I'm going
How
definitely.
intense are
And
these?
then in the morning,
How intense are these? Oh,
intense.
is it?
Oh yeah, it's intense. That's why I was like, oh, this is gonna be it, because it's intense, it's close together. And I did not get any sleep at all every night, basically, for that 7 days. And I still feel fine and I feel okay. And I feel like I think it should be fine. But when you're like physically exhausted too, you kind of become more vulnerable. And then my husband is, maybe we should just get ultrasound one time just to make sure that she's locked in the position, because she just had he thought like she might be sideways. Go to the doctor once to just make sure that get ultrasound in and out. Make sure that, oh yes, she is. She's not bridged. Her head is down and blah blah blah. I'm just like, no, 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 no. That was just like another, because I knew if I did that, I'm gonna be a mess in a way. I'm gonna have another fear and a fear and
Mm-hmm.
it's so I'm like, no, 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 we're not gonna do that. So it was Thanksgiving. We were still out and about. I remember we went to this Mexican restaurant because all night long, and in the morning it was gone. So during the day, I was like, nothing happened. Then I would tell my husband, let's just go. I mean, I'm not going. I'm not gonna. I don't want to stay home. To just do our life. Came home, had a contraction again, and then that was the Black Friday. That was the day before she was born. I think any pregnant labor, any pregnant woman who's in labor know that long. You'd be like, okay, it is getting exhausted.
Yeah.
Is she ever gonna come? And then I told my husband, let's just go shopping. I wanna distract this. And I went shopping, was in the line, having all kind of contractions. My husband's like, are you sure you don't want to go home? No, don't worry. It's not gonna come. It's not gonna come today. Don't worry. I came home. I had literally, as soon as he came home, contraction after contraction after
Wow.
contraction all night. Then she came out
Did you
on
throw up?
Saturday.
Did you throw up or have diarrhea?
No, no. I was in such a good spirit. I was still eating. I'm not like, having like, oh, I cannot eat. When I'm not contracting, basically, I was eating. I told my husband, give me this food, give me. So I have all this energy. It's like, and again, if I look back, it's just so perfect. She literally give me time to rest. It was hard, but it was perfect for me. And then so that Friday night, still like kind of fizzle out a little bit, but I'm still contracting. And then I'm actually got get tired. And then like I said, I'm getting a little worried, like, is something okay? So I call Yolanda, and Yolanda at that time was, with her lovely voice, she just,
What a blessing to have her on call. I mean,
yeah, is yeah, because I was in the group. So she was just basically, anytime you need, whatever you need me, let me know.
that's nice.
So I was just telling her, and then she knows that I'm still pregnant. I'm like 43 weeks. So and so she's like, I'm like, so I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there's something wrong? And my husband thinks the baby might be sideways. And then she just like, I don't know. What From whatever it is you describe, something wrong. This is what birth is. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, maybe it's just so long. I know it's so long, but literally never occurred to me feeling something is wrong or I give up. I don't want to do this. Let's just go to the hospital. Never, not even once. I'm just like, okay. Basically, at the end, you just talk to your baby and then ask how she feels because you will know, you know. And I'm like, okay. Then I literally, after I hang up the phone, I talked to her. I said, baby, is there something wrong? Please tell mommy. I was literally tell her exactly that. Did mommy sabotage myself? Is it like my desire to free birth, basically not listening to my intuition? Because if it is, please tell me, okay? And then I literally can hear her saying, I'm good, mommy. Just be patient. I swear that's how her voice is. That comes in my head, like happy, just like, I'm like, all right, that's it. I told my husband, I just talked to her. She's fine. I just keep going. So that after like around afternoon, I was still contracting. And this is also like the most interesting part because I thought, and oh, I at this point I did not call my keeper anymore because like I said, I have that 7 days of prenatal labor where I thought this is going to be it. And then we call her twice and then she stay in our house and everything. And then it's baby's not come basically. So at this point I told my husband, you know what, let's just not call her. I just want to just be me and you right now, you know. If I want to call her, we will call her. So anyway, so it's only me and my husband and our, and it was so interesting because I was so depending on my husband. I want him to be as close as he can. I don't want him to leave my side. And I thought like, oh, I want to be alone. I like just, you know, be like, you go away. Let me just be by myself. But I never want him to leave me ever. So I think like around 1 or 2 o'clock, my contraction is getting strong. But again, I kind of feel like just with it because I was in it, you know. I kept telling, and then he kept back and forth tending my daughter and tending me, and I'm just so frustrated. Not have your way. We need to have somebody to take my daughter, which thank God my friend came and then took her. And then the minute she left, which is around 4 p.m., my contraction just boom. It's the wave is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I remember I told him it's getting so uncomfortable. I was telling him, and he was like, "Okay, what can I do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Um, like, just do you want to watch something to like kind of like distract your mind?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go watch something." We watch Along Came Polly, and I love that movie so much. We always laugh, but my husband was like laughing, and I was just like, mm. Okay, you know what? This is, I think, getting serious. I think this is getting. Then he said, like, let's just close, like, let's just not watch this and focus on you. And sure enough, after that, I was just basically, I never really like left the earth. I never had that, like, feeling like in the ether or something, very much in my body. I told him, like, I cannot. This is, I think, the transitioning. Because I was in so much, I wouldn't call it pain because pain is different level too. But I know everything I did was so uncomfortable. No matter if I sit, stand, nothing, no position can make me feel better. Zero. Even in that time, that was like the most intense time. I never occurred to me like, I want to give up. No, I'm just like, this is so uncomfortable. Why is it so painful? I just know, I know what happened. I know that's what I keep telling him, like, nothing makes me comfortable right now. I just know I told him after that, I needed to get the top ready. This is painful. I need some pain relief. I want to be in the warm water. And he did it right away. But at that time for
Is
me,
this a birthing tub or is it your bathtub at home?
No, it's a bathtub. It's a bathtub. We did use the burning tub during one of those few times we thought it was, and then it took forever to fill it up. So I'm like, forget about it. And when my husband did it, for him, it was super quick. For me, it feels the longest time ever. I was telling him, just hurry, I cannot wait. He's like, okay. And anyway, getting to the top, maybe I lasted for like 10 seconds. I get into the top and I'm like, so panic. I feel just like, I don't want to do it. I don't like this top. Get me out of the top. Get me out of the top. And I got at the top. I was freezing. I was like shivering. I never shiver like that ever. So this is why I was like, okay, I think this is different. This is something is coming basically. And I told my husband like, can we please warm me? We crank up the heater. I was literally shivering. And then the minute I had all of this blanket and everything, I was sweating basically.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I've heard a lot of stories. I mean, for me, I was hot and cold too. And
Yeah.
I kept telling my husband, take off the blanket, put it back on, take it
Yeah.
off, put it on.
I seriously, I don't know what the drives behind the hot and cold, but I just knew I was after that. I'm like, okay, this is too hot. And then I got so cold again. And then next thing I know, I wanted to push. So I just threw my body on the floor, like all four. And I told him, my body wants to push. Even at that time, I didn't even think the baby's gonna be here. I literally just, I think that's probably like another like thing about when you are so in it, you don't really think, oh, is baby coming? You just like,
Yep. Even
you
when I
just,
was pushing, I thought I had 4 more days.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, if seriously women would think like that. And because we just don't think, do not think like, oh, the baby is gonna come. I'm like, I just want to push. It was such, oh my God. I think the pushing part for me was quite scary for me because it's such a huge force that don't, I can't even describe. It's like, how is it a human can have that much of force in her body?
Yeah.
So I want to push, and my husband was like, oh, that's a good sign. It's a good sign that your body wants to push. Let your body do whatever you need. And then I was so mad when I heard that from him. I was like, to do. So I told him, call Elisa, our bird keeper. Like I said, I was not really sure what it is. I know I'm wanting it to push, but it's so strong. And then my husband called our bird keeper. She did not pick up the phone. It was so funny, how it also happened.
Yeah. Wait, this is the day after Black Friday.
Yes.
At night? Is this at night now?
This is at maybe like 7:30, yeah. 7:30 p.m. So anyway, yes, she did not pick up the phone, which is so weird because usually she always pick up the phone, especially she knows she needs to stand by, right? So it's just funny how it just meant to happen that way too. And then I told him, and my husband's like, oh, Elisa did not pick up the phone. Called my other friend, Amanda. So I called Amanda, my friend, and I told her, Amanda, my body wants to push. And then she was like, oh my God, that is so amazing. But then I remember I pushes maybe like for, I don't know, maybe like half an hour or something. I told him that. I'm like, I don't think I can push like this for like an hour. I'm gonna die. That's how I feel. Because it's so strong. I feel all of my part of body gonna come out if I, like push that much. Because at that time I just thought like I heard women, oh yeah, I pushed for 4 hours. And I'm like, how did you push for 4 hours? I can't even push more than 10 minutes, I guess, at that time. And I remember because our bedroom, I was still laboring in the bedroom most of the time. And then I told my husband, I need something strong to hold me. And then I literally see our toilet and I'm like, I need to go into the toilet. So I crawl to the toilet and then I sit on it. And then I was basically just roar in the toilet, like just push and roaring. And my husband is right in front of me, just hold my hand. And I think like I pushed a couple of more times and I told him I feel something. It's like I guess it was maybe like her head. I can feel it. It was literally like ploop.
Wait, because you're
And I
sitting on
can
the toilet with not the toilet cover is up,
it's
right?
yeah, it's up.
Okay.
It's up. Yeah, yeah. So I was standing up a little bit and I feel it. I'm like, oh, I was like, I feel something coming. So my husband's like, oh my God, it must be her. And then I push one more time. She's come right out through, and my husband caught her basically. I don't think she will fall into the toilet, but he caught her right away, and I'm like, there she is, and literally she came out. Oh, so beautiful. She cries right away. She was so pink, so vital. I'm like, everything that you know, I thought how it's gonna be, it happened, because I did tell her like, baby, please, when you come, cry. And I was so present. Literally completely different experience with my first. I get to see her right away. I feel her skin right away. She cries, and yeah, it was amazing. Amazing, like the best feeling ever. And then I got it like when my friend told me, oh, the pain will be gone. Because I'm like, yeah, it's like nothing ever happened. Whatever happened before. But the placenta took me a while.
Wait, so what do you do with the cord? What did you plan to do with the cord?
So what happened was her placenta came 34 hours. It was a very long time. And
Wait,
I
so
do
if
have,
it took 34 hours, she was still attached.
I know we cut the cord. Oh, after like 2 hours. Yeah, I think like 2+ hours, we cut the cord. Yeah. And then her cord was so short. So I was, it was kind of hard to get around. But I think there is something that I always had this fear about placenta, because I had a cesarean. I just have this, I made up the story, maybe like, oh, what if the placenta didn't want to come out? But even though I addressed a lot of them during pregnancy, but I think it's still gonna manifest too. And I thought like, oh, maybe I was so tired, so I'm gonna do it again the next day. And then I did try, and they just did not come out. So I kind of like, all right, I'm gonna do it again later. But I should have tried harder. I mean, I definitely did not recommend women to wait that long. So after like that 34 hours, I think I remember I asked Yolanda about it. I asked her like, what I still have my placenta, and then she said, okay. She called me right away and she's like, okay, we need to get this placenta out right away so then you can rest, which is so true. And she's like, just get the bowl, try to push your placenta just on the side of your bed, basically, as hard as you push your baby. Then it's kind of like aha moment for me too. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should push a little bit more. Then I push, like giving a little bit more, like force, push it, and then it just flop. And it was fine. It looks healthy.
During those
And yeah,
34 hours, did you cramp at all?
I did,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Oh
did
yeah.
too. Okay.
Yeah. And then I remember I took Angelica as well. But yeah, I cramped the whole time. That's the thing that Yolanda told me as well. Like, that's the cramp is the sign that the placenta wants to come out. So, and yeah, as soon as it's out, it feels so good because birth has not done. It's not done
Mm-hmm.
until the placenta is out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't really be able to rest. I'm still kind of like, but as soon as it's out, so good. And again, I felt great. Yeah, and then she latched right away, which is, another thing that make it everything worth it. Because I'm like, yeah, this is why I want to do this. This is why I know this is what we feels right and feels peace, when I want to do it, not because of, oh, she did that or like she does. I planned my 40 days, my first 40 days much better. I had my postpartum doula that came once a week. Amazing, amazing doula. I'm super grateful for her
Did she
and
cook
have
or
her.
did you meal train?
She could, I mean, we
Oh,
did a meal train, and then she came once a week for the next 6 weeks. Basically, she cooked, she made me tea, she made me cookies, she helped with the yoni steam, she massaged me. Oh my God, I was like in heaven. I was in nirvana my first 40 days, and then just staring at her, breastfeed her, like even though like you're so tired and sleepy, like all the sleepless nights, it just it doesn't feel like a burden. It just feels
Yeah.
like ease, like yeah, this is what I'm mothering right now. So it's more way smoother.
Yeah. So
So
did you
it's
have any
beautiful. And
visitors
again,
during those 40 days, like other than the postpartum doula?
I did have my in-law came, I think like 2 weeks after that. Yeah. No, I don't have a lot of visitors. I told my husband I don't want a lot of visitors too. But my in-law came 2 weeks, and then which is it was good too because they're like 5 years apart. So it's I'm I'm still struggling sometimes to find a balance, getting everybody's needs met.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, but it was good. But I don't have like too many visitors. Like I said, I feel so nurtured. One of the best time, most beautiful time I've had in my life too. And even after she was out, I told my husband too, I cannot wait to give birth again. I cannot wait. I do it 100 more times. They're all, I think both of my pregnancies and birth are perfect as is. I mean, I used to even frame my first birth as this horrible, or like, yeah, it was traumatic, obviously it was, but then I don't see it as in like a negative way anymore now, because I think if I have quote unquote good hospital birth, I'm not gonna ever taste to have my baby at home, like just me and my husband. I'd be like still going to the hospital because I'm like, yeah, I had a good experience at the hospital. My doctor was great. Definitely can't wait
Oh, it's so beautiful. So
to give birth again.
I have one last question. What advice would you tell a first-time pregnant woman who wants to have a home birth, who's thinking of having a home birth? What would you tell her?
I would say you've got this. You know exactly what it is that you want and what is your baby want. Nurture relationship with yourself and your baby. That's very important. You connect to your baby, talk to them every day. It's like potent than any medical doctors. And that's the most potent. I mean, I wish I got that advice when I was pregnant with my first.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy for you, Ita.
Thank you, Emily. I know. Thank you so much for reaching out and then have me in your YouTube. I cannot wait to have it listen and, tell my friends and my family. It's been really nice, and it's good to be able to share your birth, because I used to be one of those women who was like, oh, even when I was pregnant with Quincy, I told my husband, hopefully I can share my birth later. Quincy's gonna be here and then I'll share my birth stories. I'll be in the podcast. That's what I told my husband. And now, yeah, it's such an honor
Thank
to
you.
share my birth stories. And hopefully it will help other women to remember that we are powerful being and we can do this. We can give birth our baby at home for sure.
Absolutely. Every story counts. Well, thank you. Let's connect again.